And
discharged into space, changing the life of one hapless duck and transforming him into a hero called Wonderduck.
what's up, George? What's going on in the House of Craze tonight?
Tonight we have Mr. Bonsart Bokel, and he is going to be talking about a book called The Wrench in the Machine, but he's also going to be talking about his comic book, Association of Ishtar, and his YouTube channel. This man has done a lot. So we're going to be talking, well, Sam's going to be talking to him, and we're also going to be discussing, why am I still a brokepreneur?
Word. Pockets are empty. Let's get it.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the dream of Medina and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the craze. If you are an independent, catch the craze. Making moves on your own, catch the craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the craze. Join the movement, catch the craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with
George the Dreamer Medina. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of Catch the Craze. We are coming to you today. It's Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. March 18th. It's episode 398, and we have a very special guest here tonight. Now, thank you so much to everyone. Whoa, okay. Who is joining us. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Subscribe, like, comment, do all of those fun things. This is episode 398, but if you have been with us and hanging out with us for a very long time, you know we don't do things in chronological order. We don't do those things. Because if you follow the channel, you also know that Wednesday that just passed, we had episode number 400. It was number 400. It was huge. It was big. It was big. It was huge. We had a lot of fun. Bigly. So make sure that you subscribe, check it out. Go back into the archives and check out that show. But this is episode 398, and we're going to be talking to another indie tonight, and we're going to be talking about his book. And Sam's actually going to be talking to him because I wasn't able to be at that interview. I had some stuff going on. But Bonsart Bokel will be talking to Sam. How do you pronounce his last name? Sam, do you? Bokel?
I had to. It's Bonsart Bokel. Okay. I don't know. Right. Sorry, dude. I screwed it up when I even started the interview. I'm not good with names.
All good. Yeah. So he's going to be talking to us about his stuff, that his books and the things that he's doing. We also will be talking today about brokepreneurship. Sammy's going to give us the lowdown on on why am I still a brokepreneur, dog? Why, dog?
Yeah, it was something.
Yes.
They ain't fair.
But before we get to all of that, I want to thank everyone who has already signed up to the Adventures of Wonderduck. I am wearing my t-shirt today. Sammy's got a t-shirt in the background. Big shout out to Morgan Quaid, who did that track for me. His campaign just ended. mellow music for you guys. That's totally out of the norm. This is a cartoon. I mean, this is not a cartoon.
Music, but yeah.
But it
reminds me of the kind of music that, you know, you met a girl, you invited her to your crib, you just cooked a nice meal, you're putting on the candlelights, you're getting you're turning on the tunes, right? The mood's ready, and you got that.
The quack does it for me, man. Does it for me. It's the best part. It's the best part. But yeah, no, thank you to everyone who's already subscribed or is following the launch page for my Kickstarter that is coming out May 4th. May the 4th be with you. So we're not too far away from it. But some people have already signed up to the Notify Me pre-launch, whatever you want to call it, page. And if you have signed up to the page, please make sure that you let me know you have, because I want to give you guys a nice 8x10 PDF that I put together just for the people who are following the page. And once the campaign goes live, if you pledge to the campaign, I will be sending you a printed version of that same PDF. So make sure you do that. But yeah, man. So what's going on, Sammy? What's happening? Talk to me.
What's happening, man? What's happening? Well, well, let's see. I'm waiting for the proofs to come in. So everything for Designated My Toilet has been ordered.
Yeah, but you know what we didn't do before you go on? We just went right into it. We didn't even do indie news. But you know what? Forget it. Let's just carry on then.
Carry on. Here we go. Bronx.
Oh,
the Bronx. It's like, what?
No. Double up. Yeah, no. So indie news. Yes.
Everything for Designated My Toilet has been ordered.
Yes.
I'm waiting for the proofs to confirm the proofs. I think 8 proofs waiting to come in this week.
Damn.
8. So that's good. So we're ahead of the curve. Nice. And as soon as I get the proofs and I approve them, then everything should be shipped by the time I get the money from Kickstarter, which should be on the 23rd, which is sometime next week. Hopefully by that time, the final stuff is already en route to me. So it's not like I have to wait for the money and then order everything and wait for the proofs then. Yeah. I'm trying to get it to you sooner because I have confirmed the landing page will be live on May 31st. It's like a week after Wonderduck ends. So the landing page will be live. Actually, the launch date will be live May 31st. So instead of because Memorial Day is that Monday, June's whatever, I didn't want to do it on Memorial Day. So I said, let me get a jump start with the launch date. And so that's a Tuesday after Memorial Day, I believe it is. Memorial Day, yeah.
Yeah, Memorial Day's on a Monday, right? So you're gonna go Tuesday.
Yeah, so yeah. I wanted to try doing it on a Monday, but
what happened?
Tuesday. Because who wants to do it on Memorial Day? Everybody's outside barbecuing.
No, but the 6th. I thought you were doing it on the 6th.
Yeah, I changed it.
Okay.
I want to get a jump start because when I did the calendar for the year, I want to do 4 issues this year.
Okay.
That's the goal. I like to get 4 issues out of the way this year. So I said if I get a jump start and if I could do the same thing I did last time is, launch the campaign ends, get the books in motion so that way I can get it to everybody sooner. The sooner I get it to everybody, the sooner I can start kicking off the next landing page and that, stuff like that. So we'll see. But my goal is to try to get 4. It's putting me to work, definitely, because right now I'm currently designing the gameplay cards, this next generation gameplay cards. It's going to be nothing like the first deck. So that's the vintage deck that'll never be reprinted. So you only got it on Kickstarter or on my website. But mass production, it'll be second generation and on will be mass production. So if you have those early editions, you know what? Those are going to be relics. Yeah. Keep them. But there's some stuff we're working and grinding. So I'm excited about that. And that's really it is. I'm excited to get duty into everybody's hands and get feedback. That's what I'm looking for.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah. No, I was just counting the days. So all right, so hold on. So you're gonna have the campaign's gonna go live on the 31st. The pre-launch page will be out months in advance. You guys can sign up.
Yeah, it'll be sign up. The pre-launch page will be up at the end of this month.
Right. Okay, cool.
So it'll give me a month. It'll give me a month to promote the landing page.
Well, you have more. You'll have more than a month. You'll have 2 months.
Well, April.
April
give me 2 months. Give me 2 months to get the word out. You guys read it, and I know that you'll laugh. If you laughed once, you have to come back for issue 2. And I'm taking a playbook from some of the other creators out there, one from George and some other creators out there. And I got some incentives when the landing page comes, and I'll announce it when we get closer. But I got something. It is in your best interest to sign up and pledge.
There you go.
I'm telling you right now, it's going to be amazing.
There you go. Yes.
Amaze balls.
Yes, indeed, sir. And just to piggyback on the indie news thing. So yeah, so obviously the landing page for Wonderduck and the launch page, the notify me page, whatever you want to call it, is up right now and it's live. As the shows continue, it doesn't launch until May, so I'll be giving you guys info as to what we have planned for, the pre-launch. Obviously, the first thing is the PDF. I'm sending everybody that out to you guys. If you sign up, let me know so I can send that out to you. But I'm also going to be doing a couple of raffles. One of the things I want to be giving away for you guys is that T-shirt that Sammy's got back there, the T-shirt that I'm wearing. I'm going to be raffling off a T-shirt. That's going to be on the night that we launch. So make sure that you get all of your, everybody who signed up, let me know you signed up because your name's going to go into the pot. And those people who signed up first will be getting a T-shirt that same night. So that night I will be, just raffling off a T-shirt for everybody. And so that's going to be cool. And so we got a few things, Sam. We got a lot of stuff, brother. Now, listen,
Mucho.
I was accused of being a drug dealer, say a peddler.
Oh, he's a peddler.
Tuesday night, I was accused of giving you guys the first hit for free.
I told Johnny not to stop that stuff, bro.
And you know what? I don't know how I can be. My name has been just
say my name
to the ground and trampled on.
I said, John, stop that nonsense.
But, it's like I see the, I can't even defend myself because I'm not on the air at the time.
That's how all it works,
all I hear is just this.
The guys in the block, you talk.
He's like, Pop, I went in there, he said these things. What did he say, Stan? What did he say? He said these things, Pop, he said these things. That was you the other day. You were just saying these things. But it's okay. It's okay. It's in the name. Get your meds.
It's your meds. That's what I'm saying. He's giving out meds.
The meds. The meds are the freebies. And big shout out to some of our colleagues in the podcast game. Big shout out to Nita Lanning and C. Michael Lanning and JD Calderon and Daphne Lage and all those guys. And gals who actually supported. I sent them out a couple of T-shirts. And they were.
Yeah, I know. I see them everywhere. I'm seeing them everywhere.
So that was cool, man. I appreciate you guys. You guys have done a lot.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm a brokepreneur. He's got deep pockets.
Okay. So let's talk about brokepreneurship. Let's talk about brokepreneurship. Here's the thing. With the T-shirts. So the T-shirts. So for those who don't know, like, you can, if you go to my website, getyourmeds.com.
He charges a salesman.
You can get these T-shirts there. Now they come from they're Amazon tees. Like they, have like an account with them. So they'll send them out. And if you have any issues with the T-shirts, you could just go right through Amazon. Amazon's pretty good about just cancel that and return it or whatever. So if they don't fit, by all means do what you got to do. But so the T-shirts, I thought that they were just a good way to get, to get people, excited about the campaign.
I was just
jelly, bro.
I was like,
bro, listen,
this is like he came from when it wasn't Trump because Trump is cheap.
Sam doesn't get jealous; he gets even. Just wait until his campaign comes out. I keep telling everybody the best thing. This is the people who are going to benefit from this are the fans. That's who's going to benefit from this. So enjoy, fans. Enjoy.
You're not getting shirts from me, so don't think about it.
Oh, stop it! They're gonna get more stuff. They're gonna get other things.
There's something that's gonna
get something, man.
It's legit.
But why don't we go right into our Get Your Meds segment today? With that being said,
what the hell that is. Let's do this, Bruce.
It's time for your medicine.
It's time.
Why am I still a brokepreneur?
Why, Sam? Why
must I be a teenager in love?
So this topic, Sam and I, we chat a lot off air. Obviously, we're always checking in on each other on the phone and stuff like that. And we're having a discussion about brokepreneurship. And you said that. You said, why am I still a brokepreneur? And I was like, you know what? That'd be a great topic. Why are you still a brokepreneur? Why are we all still brokepreneurs? This is what we want to do for a living, right? We want to do this for a living. but we can't quit our jobs. Some of us, not all of us, but some of us, indies out there, can't quit our jobs yet, because if we do, we'd go into that brokepreneur, I guess that social brokepreneur status. So why are you still a brokepreneur? How do you get out of the brokepreneurship? And what are the steps, Sam? Talk to us. Holla.
Step by step. Ooh, baby.
Oh, boy. Yes.
So first of all, number one, don't freaking move after you lose your job to another state and sell a house and buy a house and try to get acclimated into a whole new area where nobody knows you. The comic stores won't support you. The weather is on crack.
Right.
It's like, I think first of all, coming back into comics during COVID, stupid.
No bueno.
No bueno, right? Because coming back into comics at the then the shutdown happens, and then everybody decides to be podcasters, right? And then everybody's doing crowdfunding. So just the market, it just flooded the gates. It's like, release the Krakens. It was like that movie. What's that movie with Brad Pitt with all the zombies?
Brad Pitt and all the zombies? What was it?
Yeah, remember? He's a scientist.
Is it Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise?
It was Brad Pitt. And he has to fly to China, I think it is Tokyo, and the military is under siege by all the zombies. This is a major pandemic. His wife is on the USS aircraft with the military, and then because if he doesn't choose to support the military and go after the vaccine, they're gonna throw her off the boat.
Oh snap! That's a whole lot. There's a whole lot going on.
You ever seen it?
Yo, I don't think I've ever seen that.
You had to have seen it.
What is it? Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. But go ahead while I look for it.
World War Z. World War Z.
World War. That he was in that.
Yes.
Oh snap!
You need to see it, bro. It gives you heart palpitations.
No, I remember the poster. The poster is like it's really cool. It's a really
see these poster. Aliens in the way they move. No, they make the Walking Dead zombie look like wimps. The way they move, it was just like, yo. I was like, what would you do? Do you let them start eating you, or you try to fight to the death?
Yeah, World War Z.
Like, anyway,
that's one of those that's one of those iconic movie posters. I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. So what were you saying? So it's like that. That's how you feel.
So what happens is, coming back into comics, the world is upside down, right? Conventions stopped. Everyone's on the airways, flooding the social media channels. Everybody. So now you got oversaturation, right? That made it even difficult. Lose your jobs. I lost my job. My wife lost her job. We had to uproot and move to Texas, right? Start anew. I'm out here for 5 months, 6 months, 5 months without her. She's out in New York, still with her. She got a freelance gig on a set. And then she came back home. So I'm here by myself with all the animals and trying to figure out Texas and the whole bit and deal with all of that stuff while trying to keep this afloat. And trying to figure out, Forbidden gave me ulcers. It was like, so I think the setback was real. There was so many layers that was just like of walls that you have to break through, right? And then now you think everything's tapering off, and now we're on a potential verge of the World War III, which is what the heck, right? So then I started asking myself, I said, how do you change the game? How do you get out of this rut? And that's where I'm at now. So I was like, you know what? I think it was, I saw something with Denzel Washington. And he said everyone was referencing this new actor, something Idris. His name is something Idris.
Yeah.
And not Idris Elba. His last name is Idris. And he says they call him the next Denzel. And that's, I've never heard of him, but they say, oh, he's big on social media. And he goes, well, the only thing I can say to that is, social media is cute and it's fun. But
cute.
The work is what's going to get you to the next level. Put in the work. He goes, I don't know who this young man is. My advice to you is just make sure you put in the work. Put in the work and put your heart and energy into the work. So for me, that's what I took away from it. I took away from, there's going to be all this stuff out there. And while social media is a tool, it isn't the end all be all. Everyone's putting all their eggs in one basket thinking that it's going to make the difference. What's going to make the difference is going to be the content. What's going to make the difference is going to be the work. It's going to be the quality. It's going to be the consistency. It's going to be that passion. So that's where my mindset switched. I said, all right, Sam, if I put in the work, eventually it'll come. I'll use the tools to help me promote the work.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to change up my philosophy on where I put the most weight. So now I change it to 80-20. So 80% of my time is going to be on content development, whether it's the books, whether it's the podcast, it's going to be there. And 20% is going to be on using the tools to create the awareness for what's going to make what's going to build that relevance and the credibility with the audience is going to be how they receive the information, whether or not they find it appealing to them.
So you're not so wait, so 80-20. So does that mean that you're not gonna post anything until the work is done? No, because you're creating all of the work?
No. So what I'm saying is I'm putting 80% of what I was doing before was I was putting 20% of my time into creating the work. Because I was banking on, I had a library, right? And 80% of my time on the promotion aspect. But because right now is like, I'm looking at long-term. I'm looking at the long game, right? I'm looking at, all right, like first there's in my toilet. There's 5 completed issues, but I got to finish the other 5. I got to finish that arc. So right now, that's what I'm doing, trying to finish that arc. Not only that, I committed to myself to creating a game. So I have to commit to the quality of the game. That takes a lot of research and development. So I was like, get that stuff done because you and I both know. I just built the new studio in New Jersey and I'm in Texas. And this felt like it was yesterday. Time moves like this, kid. So I'm like, all right, so time's not your friend.
Yeah, no, I think that here's what I think about the breakdown that you're giving. I think that to your credit, and because I think you're taking a little too much credit away from yourself. To your credit, the reason why you were focusing so much on promoting is because you had already finished the product. Because like you said, 5 books were in. You were focusing on, same thing with Forbidden. Forbidden's finished. Forbidden's done. There's nothing else to do on Forbidden because it's completed. Those were the projects that you put out.
Right.
Okay. And the reason why you're out there doing 80% of that promotion is because who else is going to do it? If not Sam, then who? You don't have a team. You got to do it yourself. Now, 80-20, I totally get you because I know that you have to create more content and new content. And obviously, now that Forbidden is out and people have seen Forbidden, and the funny thing is, not all of it is out yet. There's still like 3 or 4 issues that people have not seen. Right? I think there's 3, right? 4, right? That people have not seen. Same thing with Duty. This is only the first issue. There are 9 more issues out there. I mean, 4 of them which are completed. 6 with you, the 6th one's already penciled, and now you just got to work on the others. So there is still a lot of content that you have, and which is why the next step was, let me put it out there. Let me let the people know. And the only way to let the people know is to go ham, go 80%, go in. I got to go in. I got to do it because nobody else is going to do it. Now, what happens though, I think, is like you said, right? You're one person. So now you got to shift it. I don't know if 80-20 is the shift. I mean, obviously you have to. There's a game that you're creating now, and I know that's going to take a long time to do, and that's going to take a lot of work. So the messed up thing about being in this position is that you can't kind of like fall back too much, right? Because if not you, then who is going to promote? You don't have a team. It's not like you have a marketing team. Say, hey, Sam, create. We got this. No, Sam is the team. So it's tough, bro. It's tough. 80-20 and flipping it the other way, doing where you're doing 80% of the thing and then 20%, because now it's like you said, sometimes if you fall asleep, somebody else is going to be out there. And that's kind of like the what I want to say, the paranoid mentality you have to have sometimes in order to be able to do this and still kind of keep your sanity.
I think where the
crazy.
I think where my mind switches is when I'm in the game. So like when the campaign is on, that's when it switches, right? That's when the promotion percentage increases.
It has
right. But when it's off, like right now, I'm not posting every day like I was with the campaign was on. I'm posting like every other day. Like I'm posting on my social feeds, but on the groups, I'm doing like maybe twice a week.
Right, because you're creating. You're busy
right.
creating right now. You're
Right.
creating.
I wake up in the
them.
morning where I
Yeah.
used to go straight to work out. I'm coming straight up here to design another card face for what with other the characters and color it and finish that, and then I go to work out because and my mind is already on the work.
Right.
Right. So I think that that's the part where for me it's like I know that a year, it sounds like a long time, but it goes by fast when you think about the amount of work that you have to put in. So if I take a moment to pause, when I blink, next year's here, and if I don't have that gameplay book done, and I don't have everything I want, you know what I'm saying, then I'm letting myself down.
Mhm.
So I have to commit. So I have specific milestones that I need to achieve. So I said, all right, switch it on and off. 4 times a year, I have to have my game face on. That's when I have to go ballistic and just go all in and just promote like nobody's business, which is about like a 21 to 30-day process. And everybody knows you're gonna see Sam posts everywhere. Like, damn, this mother. Every time I turn, there it is, right?
Yeah, nah, I'm telling you right now, before my campaign goes live, I'm gonna apologize to everyone because you're about to see a lot of posts about this shit. And the thing is, you have to, man. Like I know it is, people say don't post on okay, fine, not the same social media channels, but every day there's got to be a post. Every day somebody's got to know that you're like that your stuff. One of the guys, one of the people who reached out to me said, hey, that they had followed the page, said to me, oh, I thought your campaign had already launched. Yeah, because that's the confusion, right? And that's why you have to clarify it all the time, because so the way Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these other platforms work is throughout. Everybody knows about the algorithms, right? Everybody knows about the algorithms, but nobody knows about algorithms. Like it's like a weird thing where like people know but don't know. How do we beat it? How do we, unless
like
you're
everybody's heard about Joey, but no one really knows who Joey is.
Right? Like I know a guy. And it's like, but how does that thing function? So listen, the people that you come up on every day, yes, they're going to see your stuff every day, and it does get annoying, but you have to keep doing it so that you kind of break the algorithm in a sense. I mean, this is logically how I'm thinking of it. And then somebody else maybe sees it. Right. Somebody else maybe, oh snap, I didn't even know this was on. I know a friend of ours, Stone Abdullah, right? He had his Kickstarter campaign. People were hitting him up months after it had ended. Like, oh, is your campaign still alive? No, it's not. It's over now. But they had just received messages about it through their social networks. And it's like, how does that happen?
Oh, same thing here. I mean, I have 6 Instagram accounts, and I could tell you I'll get an alert a couple of days later on a post that I did on one of my accounts. Right. On the other account. You know what I'm saying?
Delay, so, yes.
Yeah, there's a delay. Huge delay. And again, I think it's because the system wasn't ready for the influx of that additional millions and millions of people that decided to create these social media accounts because they had nothing to do because they were locked up in the house because of all the social distancing and all this other stuff and these restrictions. They weren't ready for that influx. So then it's just like, boom, the bombardment. So it slowed everything down because the algorithm is trained to identify, sort, transfer, shut down, move, this, that. So now the algorithm is like, oh, snaps. It was like World War Z. Like, oh, close the doors, close the doors.
Right. That, and you know what it is? Now it's a thing of like, it's almost like what we were talking about. The first hit is free, right? They let you put your sponsorships up there, value that for $25, and everybody used to see it, right? So you're like, oh, cool. So you just keep buying ads. But now they're saying, nope, we're not going to show your ad anymore at $25. You're going to have to spend a little more money to get your ad seen. But you're like, but this used to work for me. Now it's no longer working because they've changed things up. Yeah, like before it used to you could put an ad in there for $25 and I used to get 300-400 likes because people were seeing it. I was constantly getting, now you're lucky to get 15, 20, 25, which is what it normally does anyway. So what the hell's the point of paying for that thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
It's crazy.
They changed it up because they want to make you desperate. They want to get you to pay more to increase the budget. Correct. It's funny. I did reverse osmosis, right? I said, all right, they're playing me. So you know what? I decided to do a 3-day push instead of a 5, 10, 15, 20-day push. I did a 3-day push, a shorter window, boom, boom. I got better results with a 3-day push with the same budget I would use for a 5 or 10-day push.
Yeah.
Right. But they frown upon that. They go, Facebook recommends 4 days or more, blah, 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 blah. You'll have better results. I proved them wrong. Right. So it's like when people say, they say, don't post every day. They say, I say, hey, they stay away, because I'm going to test the system by trying it my way to figure out what's going to work for me. And I think that's what you got to do for you. You got to approach it with, how can I get the best result? What should I be using? What tag should I be? What time of day? What day of the week is the best to do this? Which day should I do a short? Which day should I do a story? Which day should I do a reel? Which day should I do a post? Which color graphics? Is this color going to get a better result than that? It's so much data that you need to try to freaking decipher to get the best results. And that requires time. Some people don't care. I'm just going to post and hopefully people will like it. I want engagement. So that's what I'm trying to pull. Who cares about the likes? Because the likes are not converting. I really more interested in to see if people are going to talk and engage.
Yeah, you need live bodies. Because at this point they're just robots. They're just bots, right? You need live bodies. You really need to know who's doing what, and that way engagement is the way to do it. Yeah. But the bropreneur thing, and why some of us are still bropreneurs, some of us can't quit our jobs and do what it is. I think a lot of it too is sometimes is that fear of of failure, right? Like, oh snap, if I do quit my job and I go into this world of creating comics and that's all I do, am I going to be successful? You know what I mean? And so you don't do it, and so now you're playing both sides of the fence, or both sides of the field, and what do you do? But yeah, being a bropreneur is the real deal, bro. It's not. It's not.
It's tough. It's like trying to get the channel monetized so it can start paying for itself. Because there's still those bills. They're still paying for the server, still paying for Podbean website. Still paying for still haven't paid off for this equipment. So it's like trying to get it monetized, trying to build that stuff. And it's a slow process. And I think slow and steady. We'll get it. I don't want to buy subscribers. No. I think that's bogus. There are people that go out there and pay a marketing firm to buy you subscribers. I want organic subscribers that are going to participate in our live chats. They're going to get down with us on when we're live, and they're going to recommend us, that are listening to us on the road when they're going to work in the morning. That's what I want. I don't want just a bot, and so it's going to take time. So that's why I say it's like put into work. We're putting into work. We celebrated episode 400. That's legit.
Yeah, no, that's legit. And hopefully we're talking about these numbers too. Hopefully, right now we're trending towards 750 subscribers by the end of the year. We're hoping to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. Like since the beginning of the year, I think we got like maybe 60 something subscribers. It's small numbers for those people listening. Like, what the hell is that now? But you know what? When you're building it organically, and when you're talking about, we're talking about indies. It's not exactly, this isn't, when we're not talking about Todd McFarlane, we're not talking about Rob Liefeld. We're talking about the indies, the guys that nobody's ever heard of. That's going to be a lot harder to build than if you say, hey, I'm going to have, I don't know, freaking Jim Lee on the show, and you get millions of people watching because it's Jim Lee. You know what I mean? We're talking about the true, like, underground independent artists. And not just in comics, in anything, in music and everything like that. So, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but we're here for it. We're here for it. Yeah. We're actually going to be talking to another indie in just a few minutes. Why don't we do that coming up after whatever you have going on?
Actually, we're going to give a word from Daphne Lage, who's the newest sponsor of this episode. Here is her promo for Eagle Raven, which is right now on Kickstarter. She has Campaign We Love. She made goal, I think, in the first second.
Nice.
Here it is.
Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, issue 4 is now on Kickstarter. Eagle Raven, a half-unicorn, half-human princess, finds herself the unwitting pawn of a headstrong noblewoman trying to avoid an arranged marriage. But she finds a silver lining as she competes to become a knight. but her travels reveal many hardships and a growing obsession. Please check out all of the different levels. This is also your last chance to collect my popular variant covers. So head on over to Kickstarter to make your pledge today.
Yeah, there
Awesome,
it is.
awesome.
Thank you.
And this episode of Catch the Grace is sponsored by. I like it. I love it. Eagle Raven. Yeah, check it out. Check it out. I pledged to it already. I'm. This is issue number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. She's going in, man. She's going in. Good for her.
2, 3.
How do you do 3? Do you do 3 like this, or do you do 3 like this? What's your 3? You do 3 like this.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I do 3 like this.
Oh no, I can't do that. I don't do that.
Interesting.
That must be like
no, 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 Sam, no, stop it.
I was gonna say Venezuela.
Yeah, you know what's coming. I keep telling you, you're gonna get canceled.
I was in Venezuela. I didn't say. I know what you're talking about.
I'm not even from Venezuela. This is how you get canceled.
Anyway,
why don't we just go to the? We're
gonna go and bring in our guest. We're gonna talk to Bonsart Bokel, and here it is. Peace. All right, we are back with a very special guest, Bonsart Bokel. Right? Yeah, you just told me. All right, cool, awesome. So, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are.
All right, I am known as Bonsart on the internet. I'm both a steampunk YouTuber and recently also a author from the Netherlands. Last year, I published my first comic and novel of the series The Association of Ishtar. I'm currently working on my second novel, which I'm about 70,000 words in. And I'm also currently working on a coloring book I hope to crowdfund in a month's time or so, among other stuff. And like I said, I always also have a YouTube channel on the subject of steampunk. And I hope to have more content on that as well.
Outstanding. About 70,000 words. What's the average word count on your novels?
The last one was bigger than I realized, which was 130,000. But it also, you got to understand that the Association of Ishtar is actually a collection of short stories that are all available on my website, www.associationofishtar.com. And it was kind of like an extension of my Steampunk Beginner's Guide series. I got a lot of questions from would-be steampunks and authors, like, how do you write steampunk? How do you create characters? And that kind of like inspired me to create a steampunk series of my own. But I also wanted it to be something more than the typical Goths in Brown stereotype with the airships and airship captains. So I also tried to do something completely different with that. So I chose a short story format. And the first character I created was S36, the Call Girl, which is also the main villain of the novel, because the novel is kind of like a bunch of all those short stories put together, even though they have no real relationship. Well, thanks to the novel, they do now. So,
right. All right. So before we continue on with your current projects, let's talk about where you grew up. What was life growing up in the Netherlands?
What was life growing up for me? A bit of a painful subject, actually. But it's my mother and my father were all pretty old when I was born. Actually, they were about my age when I was born, and I'm turning 40 this year. And my mother is originally from the Dutch Indies. She moved there after the war. So I also grew up with a lot of Indonesian people. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit strange. I have 2 half sisters, and my mother and father met each other on her husband's funeral. And that weirdness kind of like persisted throughout their relationship. Both my parents passed away a couple of years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, it was a bit of a strange upbringing for me. Um,
Right.
Atypical, so to say.
So, were you into storytelling as a kid? Were you into comics as a kid? Was there where did the influences come from?
Hmm. Um, well, I mean, when I was younger, I was a real big fan of ElfQuest. That's pretty much, I guess, my only real entry into comics. Like, I had some other European fantasy comics, like Land Voiced of Troy. I really enjoyed Chronicles of the Black Moon. Mostly French comics. Like I like all kids of my age. Like I liked Spider-Man and stuff, but I never really got into those types of American comics. So I was far more of a fantasy kid. Then I kind of like rolled into anime through Ghost in the Shell. That's really where my enthusiasm for cyberpunk in particularly grew from. And yeah, that's I also have like a passion for history. So in steampunk, cyberpunk, and history kind of came together. So yeah, that's kind of how that developed.
At what point did you realize you wanted to create?
Oh, this was a long process actually. Like I always had a smidge of like making stuff, and I always made stories with, for example, Legos. I was a big Lego kid at the time, so I re- reenacted my favorite cartoons, I guess, at the
Right.
time. Like very people. It's very obscure now. All those series, I don't even know the names of half of them.
Right.
But I was really a cartoon kid at the time, like big in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And yeah, I also like to reuse old material. Like I love to disassemble stuff and make pretend machines out of them. So there always had been that DIY mentality. Then I grew into Warhammer, Magic the Gathering for quite a long time. Then I discovered reenactments, like the heavy historical stuff. Did that for about 14 years. Did a lot of major battles as well during that period. And at advice of a therapist, I started picking up writing, something that's not um, it doesn't come natural to me because I'm also dyslexic. Writing on university was a real bitch for me. It also made me, well, I finished my bachelor degree for history, but I did not continue it due to my issues with writing. And but then she said, you should start writing fiction. And I simply started with that, first in Dutch, and now I only write in English. And yeah, I think I was like 6 years into steampunk at the time. And that's when I really started writing again. So it's been a long road for me to develop, from doing blogs to doing vlogs to doing writing and getting published. Yeah.
Right. I mean, this a lot of people suffered from dyslexia, and it inhibits your ability to focus. Right. So
Yeah.
how were you able to find that ability to
Discipline.
focus
Mm.
and to finish?
Well, it's still a struggle. It really is. I should really make a proper thing, but something that my parents really gave me is diligence and the importance of that. And I also, through a long road, like through reenactment, I kind of learned. I got my first position of responsibility. And it was kind of thrust upon me. I didn't want responsibility. I evaded it for a very long time, even though I was one of the senior members of the group. I enjoyed learning people how to sword fight and spear fighting. I was really big on that. So that's kind of like how that started. And more and more a responsibility was thrust upon me. And then I started doing YouTube, and then you have to focus on making videos and getting that done. And yeah, finally, it's just, it's you just grow in that. And now I'm selling my own book, which is also a major motivator, I noticed. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because my wife also has dyslexia, and I know that focusing is one of the biggest things, where everything has to be perfect in order for her to be able to do something. You know what I mean? It's like, if something's out of place, it's distracting for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then to find, to see what you have accomplished, that's a huge milestone, considering what you're up against. Because I understand, it can be almost what's the handicapping, right? It can all, because it creates a lot of emotions, within you, where you have to fight through in order to get something done.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, when they talk, when they hear dyslexia, you think you have troubles reading, but the thing is, it's so much more than that. I mean, people with severe dyslexia, they don't even know how to properly put on a sweater, because they forget what order they have to do it in.
Yeah.
So it can be very extreme, and it's really how it affects you doing things and your inability to focus and get distracted all the time.
Right.
And you're doing one thing, just, oh wait, I can do this first, and before you know it was like, what was I doing again? And
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yes. You wind up starting all over again. So, what was the first project that you decided to start writing?
The first one, well, like I said, I was a big ElfQuest fan, and I also was very big in Warhammer 40K at the time, so I kind of tried to combine that. So I kind of made a like a space opera, I guess you'd call it, with elves similar to that of ElfQuest. Far less magic though, but it was there. I was also getting into Shadowrun at the time, which kind of combined cyberpunk with fantasy, which is also a wonderful setting. So yeah, that was in Dutch, and I never finished it because I was never happy with it. And but I did learn a lot, and yeah, then I just stopped. I wrote some short stories. I participated in some contests, and yeah, then I started with YouTube, and I started writing scripts and blogs, and well, that's where all my time went into. I also did a lot of costuming at the time, and yeah, so I stopped writing for a couple of years until I started on the Association of Ishtar, and yeah, I'm still working on that.
That's fantastic, fantastic. And you said that you started your blog and then your YouTube channel. Which came first, and what was the inspiration to do it?
Well, the moment I really got into steampunk, I wanted to blog about it. There was this, and it was really close by to me, a small steampunk event called Emporium Vernesque, which is organized by a friend of mine for a couple of years, and I was there, and there was this particular energy. And even though I did not have anything with fantasy or that stuff at the time, or at least not to dress up as characters from such things, I yeah, I don't know exactly. I got this book. Do I have it here? I'm not seeing it in this light. But I got this book called the Steampunk Gazette, and it contained various interviews
Right.
from steampunks as well. It's one of those wonderful coffee table books with this arrangement, this inventory of all manners of steampunk, with a lot of pictures. And I read this interview where one steampunk said, you steampunk, it's imagining the past that never happened. And I don't know, that just triggered something for me, and I wanted to explore it and what it was. And unfortunately, I'm one of the few people that has actually done so, to the extent that I have. and really try to define what it is. Like, how do I explain it to people, but also how can I like encourage people to find their own way, do it their own way, as is the motto of my channel.
Right.
And that's what I've been doing for, well, this year 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. Now I noticed that you have a steampunk retro vintage look to your backdrops. So what was the thought process behind the look for your setting?
For my setting, well, when I started to develop it, like, I think cyberpunk is probably mostly my inspiration. I prefer like a colorful but also minimalistic design. It's a bit Art Nouveau-ish in some sense. I play a lot with color. That's probably also something from my miniature painting days, although I recently started again with miniature painting. And like also history. It's I also, when I talk to my artists for the coloring book project, for instance, I have this rule that the characters have to look like 80% historical, in this case Victorian. So I try to like make clear instructions on what they can use for inspiration.
Right.
So yeah, but mostly like historical designs. And I also try to make everything look functional, so you can imagine what it can be or is. And practicality is also very important for me. For example, those red boxes you see behind me, the idea behind them is that I can use them as crates when going to events. And then I can use them as decor there as well.
Right.
So
Right.
practicality is also a major thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like you gave a lot of thought not only to your storytelling process, but also almost like your set design when you do your YouTube channel. You have a specific look, and it's almost as if everything is cohesive with everything you do.
Yeah.
So talk about that approach. How long did it take you to fine tune your look and your branding?
Well, the character that I use for the Steampunk Beginner's Guide, Dankert Lexicon, he was originally for my first blog, Tupperware Steampunk. I was started doing interviews with steampunks, and I wanted to do it. I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm going to some guy and I talk about steampunk. No, I wanted it to be a story.
Right.
And that kind of like created Dankert Lexicon, this clanker that is hacking and burglaring his way into their domains and starts questioning them. So that's kind of how that started. I made the eyepiece. I don't know what inspired that monocle, but I know I found a camera in some thrift shop, demolished it, and I was like, oh, I can make this. I combined it with some leather, painted it, and voila, you had a functioning eyepiece. So it's also really depends on what I come across. It's not like I had this master plan. It all grew organically, and I add bits and bobs to existing things, or recycle old things, and mesh them together in a way that makes sense.
Right. So talk about your first YouTube episode to your current. What's different from the beginning to now? What have you learned along the way?
About the production quality, for one. And my English, I kept saying DIY, drunk under influence, and DIU, or I forgot. So people sometimes make jokes about it in the comment section. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. Flaws need to be there. If there ain't flaws, it's lifeless. So. Yeah. I'm fine with that, and I'm right now. I'm trying for a more minimalist approach. An artist is working on a new background that is supposed to be Dankert Lexicon Studio, and I'm now working on that. And yeah, well, people think that looks better anyway, even though it's less effort for me. That's the idea, so I can put out more shorter videos.
Right.
So I also have time for my writing stuff, and I also like work 4 days in the week. So yeah, that's also a thing I need to keep track of.
Right.
So yeah, it really is a matter of time management, really.
Right. So you produced your novel, you promote your novel, and you decide that you want to do a comic. Or which was
Well,
first?
well, I was already working on the novel. I wrote a whole bunch of short stories, and I reached out to a Canadian publisher. Said, "Yeah, we love the idea, except we want, the short stories have a particular format, and we think that will be alienating to readers.
Right.
So, could you like make an overarching story to kind of tie the stories together?" So that is the origin of the wrench in the machine. And I also have my own podcast. I talk to a lot of creators, and I talk to SK, a comic book creator from Australia. And yeah, he kind of like, why don't you make your own comic? And yeah, and then that's when I said, you know what, I'm gonna start like a very short comic. Really, the As for the Sixth Call Girl is really me learning how to write comics. By that time, I had reached out to several publishers in the United States. One, Hatton Cross Steampunk Publishing, approved my manuscript, and so we were working on that. And I then started on a comic. They said, "Oh, well, actually, that sounds cool. We don't have comics yet, so." And it was like it's 6 pages now, and then there is a short story which is kind of like a pilot for another series I want to do in the recent future, which is a kind of like kind of a spin-off, but like I said, it's a collection of short stories, so a lot can happen.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of people seem to like that short story more than the actual comic, so yeah, I can't wait to get started on that when this is done.
Nice.
And yeah, that's kind of so. Yeah, the comic was kind of a side project. Now I'm doing the coloring book to get acquainted with various artists and explain like what the world is and see who I like and can work with and trust, because I had some issues with my comic book creator, so I'm not working with him anymore. And yeah, so when the comic book is done, I'm gonna talk with them about a comic anthology. Not sure what the stories will be yet, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a big adventure.
Nice. So when you say comic creator, you're talking about the illustrator?
The illustrator, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so now let's talk. What's the premise of your series? And walk us through what people can expect from picking up your novel.
Okay, so the premise of the series is that there is a version of Earth in the 19th century where all these portals to other worlds are opening, called rifts. And the Association of Ishtar is a kind of volunteer organization who's investigating all these portals and whatever comes through. Now, officially in their role today, present themselves as advisors who are helping local authorities to deal with the problems that emerge from these rifts. And, they say, well, we explore these worlds to figure out if these worlds are a threat or not, what we can expect, so we can advise these people. But in reality, they're more like the present day version of the SAS. And yeah, so they're dealing covertly with all these menaces and all these threats and all the problems they have caused themselves. And Wrench in the Machine is a book that kind of like has that dilemma, because I wanted it to be accessible and for people to get acquainted with the series and the format. I decided on a character who is an inspector with the Dover Borough Police. And yeah, he discovers there is all this entire multiverse out there, and he gets acquainted with people of the Association of Ishtar. So he has kind of like this outside looking into the organization and what they're doing. And throughout the story, you will see he approves or not. On his quest, he also encounters a so-called outsider. These are creatures, or in this case, a person who comes from one of these other worlds, called Igraine. She's also going to be the main character of my upcoming book. And she also has her secrets and quirks, so to speak. So the heart of the story itself, I would say, is about accountability. The wrench in the machine, it's not only a reference to the ghost in the machine, but also all the things that are getting kicked down the road and all the problems that are mounting up, and we ignore because we're not being confronted with them at the moment. And he's being confronted with mistakes that he made in the past. And so is the association, and all these things are coming to a head in the story. So
Wow, there's a lot of layers to what's happening in the world. So how do you talk about your writing process? What did you start with first? Because you have subplots within the plots, right? And it seems like everyone they're like anchors. They can have their own story based on what I'm hearing. So what was your roadmap to creating this world?
Let's start with the short stories that I created, these high concept short stories. And I did not really have any underlying connection between them, or at least not officially, like headcanon, perhaps, like what's happening. But I did not know if all these things could be added together, like Igraine, whose short story is S06, was originally my critique on how people interpret the term Clark Tech, which is a term in science fiction. Like Arthur C. Clarke, famous science fiction writer, had like 3 rules, and one of these rules was that alien technology is so advanced it's indistinguishable from magic. Now, what of course he didn't mean like, oh well, if it's indistinguishable from magic, everything in science fiction might as well be magic. That's not what that meant, but that is how a lot of people started interpreting it.
Right.
Because they're lazy. Anyway, so I created her as a kind of like a response to that, where she's the opposite. She is a little girl from a society who has taught her that their advanced technology is magical. So she comes to this world by accident. And the association, when they meet her because they want to send her back, they keep telling her, oh no, technology is magic, and they have to. But yeah, so she has all these weird things where she treats technology as these sacred things, and you need ley lines and crystals, and this whole new age philosophy essentially. But those wizards, they don't want her back. She's a threat, so they let her stay with the association. And in the book, many years have passed. She is, I think, 16 in the first novel, and she has literally outgrown out of that mental state. Like the world literally lost its magic for her.
Right.
So that is like a major reason for her motivations of what she's doing. Explaining any further would be spoilers. But then there is also the Call Girl, which is the first story I ever wrote for the series, so it made sense to include her, who's this interdimensional assassin who has this vendetta against the association for some reason. Now, the association doesn't know her motives or where she came from or why she is stalking the associates, but she is inspired by number stations. Are you familiar with those?
No.
Okay, so these still exist, by the way, but from, let's say, the Cold War era onward, various secret agency started broadcasting numbers to the ether throughout radio stations that of course didn't exist. A very famous one is the Lincoln Poacher, which we used to be on Malta, and it's called the Lincoln Poacher because if you tuned in to the radio signal, the frequency, every broadcast would start with a very eerie sounding song, the Lincoln Poacher, and then you would hear this woman say various arrays of numbers, and nobody knows what those numbers mean, but a lot of people, because you can just listen into them. So so that's kind of like where the call girl came from. I took that idea and I kind of like, what if that number refers to not some code but a person?
Right.
And that's when I decided all the associates have numbers. So you have associate 7, associate 45, etc. And the call girl has all these number tattoos on her skin that she's scratching off, like the notch on a revolver, for example. She became kind of the villain. So there's this whole game with numbers going on in the background of the story. Because they have to figure out why are they referring to these associates numbers? What is their relevance to the whole thing that's going on in the conspiracy, so to speak?
Right.
And I kind of bashed all these various short stories together, how does this play in? What does this do? How does this operate? How are they dealing with this problem? Then we're getting into how I world build in general, which that I really see the world through the perspective, in this case, to the main character, who's Inspector Alborough, who doesn't know anything. So he's also a fish out of water.
Right.
And the reader really goes through the process with Inspector Alborough, discovering what the hell is going on and how all these villains and monsters and robots operate. And the wrench in the machine is a reference to Ghost in the Shell. So you can kind of guess where it's heading.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong, but earlier, I believe you said you created a character guide? Or were you
a character guide?
How do you keep track of all your characters and their history and how they intertwine in your novel?
I know, not really. The funny thing about some of the feedback, when you look on Amazon on the feedback, you see it feels very complete. The reason for that is because instead of writing character guides and backgrounds and all that stuff, I immediately started working on the short stories. So I immediately started exploring. Yeah, so I immediately started exploring, how do they work? How do people interact with them?
Right.
So there is no baggage information there, so to speak. That. Right. So and for me, it's also an experience because I had no such documents. It was okay, what's going to happen now? I had no lore or any other stuff to hold me back when writing the first novel. And I really try to be minimalistic about what I include of information. If it's not irrelevant, if it's not relevant to the story, I try not to include it.
Right.
And that allows me a lot of freedom with the current novel that I'm writing right now, because it leaves room for things that I have not explored yet in the previous novel to explore them now and how they operate, especially in regards to Igraine.
Right. Fascinating. So now you have the novel, you published it, you're going after doing a comic book. Now you want to add a coloring book. What's the thought process behind the coloring book?
Well, like I said before, I want to get to know various artists. And one thing, I'm a very visual guy. I'm dyslexic, so I also wanted, more art. See what they look like. Again, it's also related to the whole how my approach to world building, to create slice of life images of what does this world look like, and because the issue with the first comic is. Well, I mean, it was small, so we didn't have to fill in that much detail. But it's like, okay, when I don't draw the art myself, so it's not like I can make corrections, when I'm not happy with the result. So I had to communicate very clearly to these artists. And so the whole idea behind the coloring book is not only like, okay, what is the style going to look like, what's the world going to look like, but also, getting to know the artists, see if they enjoy it, see if I enjoy working with them, if they enjoy working with me. And I also wanted to be originally, and I still kind of do, but I'm not putting a lot of energy into it right now, is I wanted to be a collaborative universe. So I want other people to submit their stories as well. That's why I choose a multiverse in the first place. So people can like insert their own worlds and ideas, and see how we can make them work together in larger stories, or I don't know, books, for instance. So yeah, that's also a hope that just get more people involved and get this massive universe at the end.
So walk us through what does it look like as far as your, like, for the comic book. What's your communication look like? Do you approach it from the DC perspective or Marvel, where you're giving page 1, 5 panels, panel number 1, this is what I'm looking for, this is the scene, this is the camera angle, or are you saying this is the dialogue and this is the scene, run with it? Which approach do you
the first one, I was taught by SK from Australia, and he showed me the scripts that he does, and what I basically did is panel 1, page 1, panel 1, this is what I want. Sometimes I would add concept art or something that I think would be a good match.
Right.
And so the artist, they would then draw those panels, and then we would add the text balloons, essentially. With the coloring book, what I'm doing is I have an Excel document with various tabs, like 1 character per tab, 1 drawing per tab, saying, yeah, well, this is like the characters I want, this is what they look like, this is the clothing they wear, this is the weapons they wear. Sometimes I make my own concept art.
Right.
For example, in the book, Igraine encounters a robot Garuda. A Garuda is kind of like it's kind of like a birdman deity from Indonesia. I had to draw that, even though the artist who drew it is from Indonesia, he knew Garuda, but it had to have like some steampunkish elements that needed to be included. So yeah, you need to like draw that, and then doing it yourself is not the best way to do it, even though I don't draw that well, and I just don't have the time to learn, because I'm already doing so much. You gotta have choices. So also, he's a great artist. Anyway, it kind of like depends on the project. Right now, I have an artist who says, yeah, I really want to draw this scene from the book. So, he's working on that by himself. And then he's asking for feedback. Hey, what do you think of this? And so he's in the middle of that. And we'll see what else comes up in the future.
Outstanding. So let's segue to your YouTube channel. What's the how often do you have a new episode, and what can people expect from your channel?
Well, I don't post very regularly because I do a lot of creative stuff. I try to have at least 2 videos a month on writing. In particular, I'm particularly now making videos on world building, how my approach is, what I do, like the do's and don'ts. That really depends on the time I have. Right now, the summer is spring and summer is coming, so I'm doing events again. I need to do more book sales events. So yeah, there goes my free time. I have periods that I do a lot of podcasts myself, talking to other creators. It kind of depends on who I encounter and who I find. And I also try to do a weekly podcast where we talk about movies, particularly older movies and movies influential to the steampunk genre. And steampunk is a wide variety of influence from pop culture. So I particularly start enjoying like the old noir films, the old black and white films, Fritz Lang, The Big Combo.
Right.
Really getting into that right now. I try to do whatever. From time to time, I also make new episodes of the audiobook of The Wrench in the Machine or some of the short stories. That's also why I want the black and white drawings, so I can play with that as well. But yeah, it's a long marathon.
Yeah.
I'm a one-man team for the most part. So yeah,
making it happen. I mean, with that fantastic leather chair, of course you're making it happen, right? So you said that you're going to be doing shows this year. Where can people find you? What shows are you doing this year? Have you booked them yet?
In April we'll be on Elfia, which is one of the larger fantasy events of Europe. We'll be there with our costume group, which is also a thing we have.
Right.
I also do various photo shoots this year. I probably will be on some of the Anatopia events in Germany as well. So yeah, and maybe some smaller fantasy festivals, but I managed to outsource the arrangements for that, so that's more my organizer's issue now. So
right.
Thankfully.
Fantastic. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you the screen, and I want you to give us the pitch and tell people where can they find your book and why they need to pick your book up. All right. So I'm going to give you the screen. Go for it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite you to the multiverse of the Association of Ishtar. You can tune in to us through Radio Retro Future on YouTube, or you can go to www.associationofishtar.com, where you can explore our short stories, and there are also links to audiobook versions on YouTube as well. Of course, you can find me as Radio Retro Future on various social media platforms such as Facebook, MeWe, Minds.com, etc. I'm on most platforms, really. And what else can I add to that? Go check out The Wrench in the Machine. It's a beast of a book, but hell, you will enjoy it. And of course, you can support us soon on Kickstarter. Also on Radio Retro Future. So still exploring the things on that. But you can become a member on our website, associationofishtar.com, where I'll keep you posted on the progress on that. And I also have miniatures in production, 2 right now. But I have big ambitions. So just become a member of associationofishtar.com. You've got nothing to lose.
Outstanding.
I'll leave it at that.
Outstanding. Thank you again for being on the show. We wish you much success. Obviously, you have a solid plan, and you're making things happen. So congratulations on all that. And also congratulations on being able to actually muscle your way through, dealing with dyslexia, because my wife deals with it every day, and it's a challenge, and I know it and I live with it. And my hat's off to you. Congratulations, because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of concentration and focus to be able to do what you're doing. So fantastic job.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's just easy. It's not. Crazy. Acquiesce.
No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him.
Say my name, right? This is what you were thinking? Oh,
he described me. He said, I'm the
You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.
Candy girl.